This isn't a race that you win, it's a race that you don't lose.
It's like a poker game. Cards are laid out, but you really don't know what you're going to get dealt.
In the world of motorsports, nothing is tougher than surviving a 24-hour endurance race. Daytona, Le Mans, the Nürburgring, these races push men and machines until they break. But for the past 11 years, one race has stood above the rest. The 25 Hours of Thunderhill is the longest endurance race in North America.
There's so many facets to this race that aren't at any other race.
It's about being prepared and really focused on execution.
I hate this race, but I love it, so I keep coming back.
This race is a long, long race, and you've got to make it to the end.
This is the world's toughest trial of man and machine. This is the 25 Hours of Thunderhill. The 25 runs each December at Thunderhill Raceway, a 3-mile track near the Northern California town of Willows. The event was created in 2003 by the National Auto Sport Association. Since then, it's become one of the country's most prestigious races, attracting amateur and professional competitors from around the globe.
There's a wide range of cars out there, wide range of drivers, wide range of equipment, cars. I think that's probably what makes it really exciting.
It really gives a chance for an amateur racer to rub elbows with a pro racer.
You've got drivers that have maybe a year of racing experience going against pro drivers that have been racing their whole life. My pro drivers are not used to running against slow cars, so it's an awakening for them when they get out on track and go against a Miata with a car that's doing 150 miles an hour.
The field is divided into 6 different classes. The slowest cars are grouped into E3, while progressively quicker cars are classed in E2, E1 and E0. The fastest cars race in the ES and ESR classes, where almost anything goes. Davidson Racing has entered 2 cars in the event, one in each of the top classes.
We're a road race team based out of Sparks, Nevada. We do a lot of testing during the year, a lot of local NASA races, but the ultimate goal is to win the overall at this race. The first car we have is an Eagle. We call it the Eagle. It started its life as an RCR Superlight kit car. We've extensively modified it and made it a full-on race car. The strong point of the Eagle is it's a very robust car, so it's designed to be able to take a little bit of a hit and keep going. The Norma Sports Racer is an ESR car. It's a BMW-powered sports racer we imported from France. It makes about 420 horsepower. That car's a lot lighter than the Eagle. It has the ability to get through traffic a little bit easier because it's lighter and more agile. So it has that advantage, but it is more fragile.
Davidson is counting on strength and speed to get the win, but CrowdStrike One Motorsports is taking the opposite approach.
The car we're racing is a modified Radical SR3. Radical is actually a purpose-built race car out of England. It uses a Hayabusa engine, which is really just a modified Suzuki motorcycle engine. The real advantage to running a car with a motorcycle engine is the fact that it's very fuel efficient. It doesn't weigh all that much, and we can run probably 3+ hours at a stint. The disadvantage is it certainly doesn't have the same level of reliability as, say, a Chevy small block engine. And we're really stressing that motorcycle engine pushing a big car. Our car certainly isn't the fastest on the straightaway, but it probably is one of the fastest in the corners, and it really allows us to carry a lot more speed in the corner.
Then there's the insanely fast JFC Racing Wolf. Co-piloted by twice Indy 500 champion Alonso Jr., the Wolf is easily the quickest car in the field.
We started off doing vintage racing, and we moved ourselves into club racing. A lot of us have been doing this for a long time, just we haven't been doing it on this level. We're an amateur, but we're trying to put a professional spin on it.
Last year, JFC made their first start in the 25 with a 2-seat version of the Wolf. This year, they're back with an updated version that is even faster.
This year is a single-seat carbon fiber tub car with full tunnels, designed for more aero downforce. The V8 that we're using is a purpose-built racing engine from Radical Performance Engines. It's basically twin Hayabusa heads on a common crank. 5 weeks ago, we started the new tub, so the car is only 5 weeks old. If you had a car that was a proven piece and everything has been proven out, yeah, you'd be like, okay, this is an easy deal. But With a brand new car, it's all on our experience and what we've done before, and hoping we can stay a little bit proactive on everything that's going on with the car.
While the high-budget teams compete for the overall win, SP Racing is aiming for victory in the more economical E3 class.
Our team basically consists of friends, family. My parents are out to cook for everybody. So it's kind of a big family and friend effort. The E3 class is one of the slower classes in the Enduro, but we race against other Miatas, Honda Fits, Acuras, and a few BMWs as well.
SP Racing is on a tight budget, so they've selected cars that give lots of bang for the buck.
Miata is more of a driver car, so it kind of transferred over to wanting to race them in the Enduro because of the durability and the speed and everything they've got in the corners. To win an E3, I think it's mainly just reliability, no penalties, just good smooth driving, no mistakes. We run the 25-hour to win. That's why we do it. Mainly it's just a good, tough race.
The 25 Hours of Thunder Hill, America's longest, toughest endurance race, starts tomorrow at 11 in the morning. Tonight, the cars will hit the track for a 30-minute qualifying session. The starting order for tomorrow's race will be set according to each car's fastest qualifying lap.
Well, qualifying should be interesting because of this mixed weather. We think right now it's going to rain, and at that point, it's a matter of just making sure that the car comes back in one piece.
We're from the Pacific Northwest, and rain doesn't bother us at all. The aero car with the full tunnels and everything, it basically sucks the water off the ground and spits it out the back. We were joking yesterday because we looked like a hydroplane coming down Front Street.
We get pole, great, but I'm not gonna stress over it if we don't. Yes, I'd love to go get pole, be on the front row. So yeah, we'll go out there.
It's still a mental game to everybody. Even though all the rest of the teams are friends and we joke around with everything, it's still another thing you can sit there and go, hey, we're on the top.
Just before the session begins, the skies open up and heavy rain soaks the track.
Get a lap right at the first to qualify, just in case it decides to start raining harder later. And if it does, then we're done. If it doesn't, then it eases up, then we may try another lap later if we want to try to improve.
CrowdStrike has pro driver Colin Brown in the car, and they're hoping the rain will work to their advantage.
In the rain, he was phenomenal, 6-7 seconds faster than everyone else in the rain. So I felt really good going into qualifying.
Conditions were just terrible. I mean, we looked like a hydroplane out there. We were planning to get out there that 5 minutes just before qualifying started and try to get a lap in.
Qualifying has now begun. Qualifying has now begun.
Davidson's cars are first and fourth overall. There's still plenty of time in the session. Ron Carroll doesn't want to risk damaging his cars in the treacherous conditions.
As much as it rains, you think they're going to go any faster? Get them off the track.
GFC Racing is also in the pits. After just a few laps, the engine has developed a misfire.
What's the temp price? 257. But he said it had always been getting warm, so I don't think if it was really 257, it wouldn't be going over 6,000 RPM inlet. Oh, we might be inlet.
The temperature was rising, we couldn't figure out why. What happens is when the temperatures are coming up, we've got trips set on the ECU that when it gets to a certain point, it puts it in a limp mode. And the limp mode is there basically to save, any really major faults.
The team decides to abort qualifying, and they push the car back to their paddock. CrowdStrike Racing is also dealing with a misfire. They're sixth overall, but without a smoothly running engine, they can't challenge for the pole.
We were really quick in that practice right before qualifying. I think we were P1 in that, which was great. When we got into qualifying and we went out on the first lap and had a bit of a misfire issue going on, so came back in and tried to fix the the misfire issue, and we got it. What we thought was fixed went back out, and we didn't have it fixed. So we had to come back here to the paddock and try to work on it.
Meanwhile, SP Racing is having a great session. Their two Miatas, piloted by co-owner Hernan Palermo and co-driver Will Fowles, are battling each other for the E3 pole.
Will turned out a good lap. He was in P1, and he came in, parked it in the pits, and was sitting and waiting, and then we We showed him the race monitor, showed him that Hernan had beat him, so he took off, went out to try and get him.
Come on back out.
Palermo hangs on to the pole, but he spins off track just before the end of the session.
Yeah, I knew Will was going to get a better lap. I was on a fast lap too, and I tried to push it a little too far, and it was too far.
I think he did that to keep us from having pole and ended the session. You can't ask for more. SP Racing 1 and 2 in class. Good to know we got a good fast platform.
JFC has tracked down their misfire to an overheating problem. Part of the cooling system failed, allowing coolant to leak out of the radiators.
It was basically just a flaw in the way that piece was designed. Just temperatures, vibration, the thing that the car has to go through, and just a defect.
The cooling system can be fixed, but now the team is worried the engine may have been damaged.
Anytime you have something, it does trigger that nervousness or that, okay, what is it, and then you have to sit there and really, get some information in.
Davidson Racing is celebrating a strong qualifying effort. The Eagle will start tomorrow's race in 4th, and the Norma will start from the pole.
It was an exciting qualifying session. It just started raining really hard right as the session started, and we went out there and we knew we had a decent car for any condition, and Team Davidson Racing gave me a great car and we ended up getting the pole. Right now is a good start, but what we want is P1 on Sunday.
The 25 Hours of Thunderhill starts tomorrow. Some teams will spend the night resting and looking forward to the race. Others will spend the night searching for that hidden problem that could take them out of the competition. The 2014 25 Hours of Thunderhill is just a few hours away. Everyone is feeling the pressure as they make final preparations for the grueling race. Many of SP Racing's volunteer crew members have never worked together, and they're using the morning to hone their teamwork.
We'll practice driver changes, tire changes, four tire change or not.
In the ultra-competitive E3 class, good pit stops will be critical.
As far as our crew goes, and we don't really have to train them because a lot of them have already worked on race teams. We just need to get them to mesh together so that way everybody knows what one team member is going to do and the other one's going to do.
CrowdStrike's George Kurtz has driven in the 25 several times. This year he's taken on a new responsibility as team leader.
I really wanted to be a little bit more active because I wanted to get the right people, wanted to bring some more professional DNA to the team. I can't help myself, I like to run things. I do that in my real job at CrowdStrike, and I hate to lose and I love to win.
Kurtz is the co-founder and president of the internet security firm CrowdStrike, and he's hoping his management experience can give the race team an edge.
So one of the reasons I like racing so much is because it really is a technical sport. At CrowdStrike, you've really got to have the best engineering to be able to protect against the latest threats that are out there. And you've got to pay attention to little details, and you got to be innovative. So when you think about racing, it's the same way. You go out with plan A, but the car may not work, you may lose a gear, there's 20 things that could go wrong. You got to be creative in solving that problem. And at the same time, you got to pay attention to little details so that the big ones take care of themselves.
Everything's on the line for Ron Carroll and Davidson Racing. They finished second 2 years ago, but last year both cars failed to finish.
12 months of the year, all we think about is winning this race. And when you come to it and neither one of your cars finish and they both have mechanical problems, it was a huge setback. I was depressed for quite a while afterwards.
This is Carroll's third year running the team, and he's anxious to get a win for owner Bob Davidson.
He's just like me. He wants to win this race, so I get the pressure from him, and I feel that. Even if he doesn't say it to me, I know he wants to win this race, and there's pressure there. So that's one of my little stress levels that I deal with. 25 hours in a race car is basically a full season for a normal race car. Things that you don't think are going to break or fail or wear out do in this race.
This is a very different animal. This is not a sprint race. It's a long race. We don't have to win it in the first lap, second lap, or first 20 laps. We just need to keep a reasonable pace.
This race is about longevity. There's a thing about being really fast, but you still got to make it all the way through 25 hours.
The 2014 25 Hours of Thunderhill is about to start.
I was extremely nervous pacing around, and because I'm in my mind, I'm thinking about everything that can happen. I've been through it so many times and had that radio call, you know, everything's going good, you're leading, and the radio call, oh, loss of power, you know, noise. So I was very nervous.
The biggest thing on the mind right then is what's the first 5 laps going to be like? All the faster cars are going to want to get by quickly. How cleanly are they going to pass us, you know, or are there going to be any other incidents?
In your mind, you're going, what's going to happen that you don't know? You know, some little thing that, you know, after you've looked over the whole car and you've done everything, you've rolled out, that unknown, I think, is probably the thing that's the most nervous at that point.
Radio check, George. 1, 2, 3, do you copy? George is cueing the button, but he's cueing the button, but we cannot hear him.
The radio was actually waterlogged from the night before. That wasn't working right. Then my microphone wasn't working, so I actually was only able to hear from the pits. I couldn't actually communicate to them. There's always an additional level of anxiety when you can't communicate to them and, you know, things are going wrong when you're actually trying to start the race. You just got to deal with that problem and move forward, and that's what we did.
Should be going green. This time by. Green.
The teams settle in for a long race. Since most of practice was in the rain, this is the first chance they've had to gauge their cars and their competitors on a dry track.
Especially for the first 20 laps, we let it all settle out and see what what their real race pace was going to be.
It's a quick lap, but we can ease up on the pace just a little bit. But we can ease up a couple seconds.
It's a 25-hour race. You're not winning it in the first hour. You got to keep going.
Very nice pace. I need your fuel burn once more, 1 digit at a time, please. 1 digit.
That was truthfully the first time that car had ever been on dry track. That was kind of going in it blind. So I chose to have Al Unser Jr. start the race. So at least that way we could figure out, and then of course the guy with the most experience that could, you know, relate or deal with anything. That was a very good, comfortable feeling.
The start went well. Will was out there in the 36 car for a little while in P1, and then I believe Hernan took over several laps into it, but they were trying to work together because there was a pretty quick Acura that was going to try and start pressuring them.
Will, the blue car behind you is P3. Need you to push it a little bit because P3 is slowly catching. Copy that. That little Honda's got some good horsepower. Good job. P4 overall. Okay, all clear behind. Nothing behind, just look forward.
I actually was very happy with my performance. I had good race pace. You know, overall the car handled well. We had different tires this year, which was a little bit of a challenge, so I was the guinea pig. So really everyone in the pit box was asking me, how were the tires doing? Were they falling off? Because we just didn't quite know what to expect. It was very difficult to communicate back because the radio wasn't working. So I had to actually use hand signals to respond back to what they were asking me.
Okay, we can hear you key the mic, but we cannot hear any words. It's okay, you're doing a really good job.
The first hour of the world's most grueling endurance race is complete. The racers are off to a good start. But they'll have to survive another 24 hours before they cross the finish line. The 25 hours of Thunderhill races through the afternoon. SP Racing is still 1-2 in the E3 class, but the 36 car driver, Will Falls, is complaining about fumes in the cockpit.
Now that you guys mentioned it, there is some exhaust fumes, but the neck and duct is blowing fresh air right on my face, so it's bearable.
One of the cars does have a slight exhaust leak. Luckily, there's an aqueduct in the car, so it's getting a little bit of fresh air in. We're going to try and get a new exhaust gasket on it, try and tape up some of the holes in it.
Gasket blew out. We tried to Band-Aid it. Didn't work too well. Fumes started getting worse in the car. Driver's finally starting to complain that the fumes are becoming close to unbearable.
Wilson pits, the fumes are starting to get really bad in the car. We're ready. You just tell us when you're coming. It's fine. I can drive through this.
The more time we can stay out on track, the better advantage we have. It wants to stay out, and I understand. We'll keep them out.
That leaves the lead to the 35 car until NASA officials tell them they have to serve a penalty.
It was standing at 2, it was waving at 3, and he passed at 3 where it was waving.
When a car breaks down or goes off the course, officials wave yellow flags in that section of the track. For safety, competitors are not allowed to pass in a yellow flag zone.
I guess I passed under yellow. Obviously, I didn't know, or I would have done it. But it happens. It's unfortunate, though, because the penalty is hard to make up.
Number 35 is instructed to wait in the penalty box for 2 minutes. But the official continues to hold the car after the penalty is finished.
Has he even looked at you? It's been longer than 2 minutes.
The guy is staring at me, and I'm just sitting here.
You're not going to talk to him? I figured it'd be 2 minutes.
I'm gesticulating violently with my hand, 2 minutes, and he's nodding. The guy's not letting me by here. You need to call somebody.
Finally, the official allows the 35 back on track.
What a lot of he finally waved me by.
Davidson Racing has also been issued a penalty for passing under yellow. Again, the official holds the car longer than he should.
What are they doing?
The problem came when the person standing on the wall kept my cars longer than they should have, and that's part of why my voice is gone, because I was angry. And I'm very emotional in the racing situation like that.
Along the race control.
Frustrated, Carroll calls race control to ask for clarification.
Can you clarify to me how they're calling these yellows? Because my drivers are claiming that they're completing the passes before they get to the flag station throwing the yellow. Are they calling yellows when you see the yellow flag or the station? Because they all claim that they're not doing this. They're all professional drivers. One of them's never had a penalty in Van Dam in 10 years. Called them on one today, so explain to me how they're calling the yellow flags.
I try to impress on them how angry I am, but I'm not angry at them, I'm angry at the situation.
Okay.
My drivers tell me that they made legal passes, but that in their mind was not in a NASA way. So yeah, I accepted the penalties.
Okay. Appreciate that. You know, I can't get video, so I can't say, hey, look, you missed that one. But if they are missing it, I'm telling them now that they're just not being cautious enough. So appreciate it. So they're seen from the tower too. So they're missing the yellow flag.
That was one incident. There's 2 others.
All of them. They witnessed 2 of the 3. The 2 on the Norma they saw.
Every minute lost in the penalty box can take hours to make up on track. If Davidson wants to stay in the hunt, they need to stay out of trouble with the NASA officials. The 11th annual 25 Hours of Thunderhill is underway. Teams from around the world will circulate the 3-mile Thunderhill Raceway until the finish tomorrow at midday. Davidson Racing's Norma Sports Racer has the overall lead, but their Eagle, the car that finished second in 2012, is struggling.
Yeah, the shifting situation's getting worse as we go.
Both Davidson cars use an electronic shifting system which automatically changes gear when the driver presses a paddle on the steering wheel. The system is supposed to momentarily interrupt power on upshifts and automatically rev the engine on downshifts. The Eagle's shifting system has been malfunctioning since the start of the race.
All the electronic functions of the paddle shifter outside of shifting from gear to gear were not working correctly. It's a very complicated machine, and to get all the computers to communicate correctly it's an art form.
yesterday was pretty wet when we ran for the qualifying. So we may have some water issue into the wiring. We thought we were coming down in good shape and then have this little hiccup here and there come up. So, that's where we're at.
Meanwhile, JFC Racing's Alan Sir Jr. has tracked down the Norma and is looking for a chance to take over the lead.
That is the race leader in front of you. Race leader in front of you. Nice job. I'll be the race leader now. Confirmed. We are P1.
I had faith that that car was not going to finish the race. If they can go that fast, they deserve the win.
I think his car may be a little outright speed. It's a little faster than us here. He's also driving wild. I mean, he took some chances out there with traffic that I wasn't willing to do at this stage.
The thing is with his experience, maybe he can pick and choose how he goes through traffic a lot better than somebody who would not anticipate and go through, and it might look that way, but the car was fast, but we were still in a cruise control mode, and you might think that, Al was driving really fast, but that was just, the car.
Still fantastic pace.
While JFC and Davidson battle for the lead, CrowdStrike is playing the long game, hoping superior fuel mileage will let them run for 3 hours between pit stops.
You're doing exactly what we need.
But just 2 hours in, the tyres have worn out.
We weren't quite sure how long these particular tires were going to last, and at one point I actually corded them, which really means that I wore them all the way down to the nylon cords, so there was no rubber left on the rear tire, at least in one patch of it. And that right rear tire gives way, there's just no grip, and it's very easy to spin the car. So as soon as it started to vibrate, I knew what it was, right rear. I kind of hand motioned in because they had a video camera, but they couldn't hear me. So until I got a positive confirmation that they knew I was going to bring the car in and everyone was ready, I couldn't bring it in. So I finally got that, jumped into the pits. They changed the tires, and then we put Colin Brown in the car.
Since the tyres are wearing faster than expected, CrowdStrike will have to pit almost as often as their competitors, negating their biggest advantage. The team puts pro driver Colin Brown in the car, hoping he can make up the time with raw speed. The shadows are lengthening at Thunderhill Raceway, where North America's longest, toughest endurance race is in full swing. JFC Racing's Alan Sir Jr. stormed into the overall lead with a blistering pace. Now it's time for him to hand off to co-driver and team owner Miles Jackson.
Just 1 gear down and very little brake, and you can get back in the throttle and you can control the understeer.
Shortly after taking over, Jackson reports that the paddle shifting system isn't downshifting correctly. The system is supposed to blip the throttle, revving the engine slightly for each downshift.
Hey, it's not downshifting. I cannot downshift without taking my feet on the water.
So right now he's working on resetting the ECU.
Okay.
And all it is he's got to find on the panel the lower button.
If he has problems downshifting, he's got to blip it himself.
And that's what he's doing right now.
Okay. Yeah, because the first hour I was okay. The second hour, as soon as I left the pits, it would not do it.
Okay.
So I had to manually do it with my foot.
They're trying to reset. If that's what you had to do that the whole last hour?
Yes.
Okay, then let Franz and Giovanni know that. Okay. So that way Miles isn't still fumbling for trying to reset something where he can just go to heel and toe. He had a shifting issue, and now I found out from Al that he couldn't blip the throttle for the last hour. So, it's back to a driver's got to do some mechanical stuff.
Al reported that he had to do flipping himself during the second portion of his stint. Yeah, we just found out from Al.
SP Racing's 35 car is second in class when the transmission begins to act up.
Hey, the transmission just popped out of third all by itself. I don't know if I have third anymore.
Would it re-engage and stay in?
Third gear's gone. Hey, you want me to keep driving in fourth? I can do it, but I'm telling you, third gear, there is no more third gear.
John, bring it in, bring it back to the right in front of the scales. You copy?
10-4.
So we pulled him in to do a transmission after doing it last night because the second gear went out in another transmission. So did what we had to do. Put a new trans in, got him back out on track.
Let it down, let it down.
Our guys took the transmission and replaced it right in about an hour. We were pretty impressed with that. From now on, no more rebuilt transmissions. I'm buying brand new from Mazda.
You have the first lap kind of thing, pretty easy on the transmission. Totally different than it.
It's totally a different car.
The sun sets on the 25 hours of Thunder Hill. For the next 14 hours, the race will run in absolute darkness. Lighting will now be critical. The drivers need to see clearly as they negotiate the pitch-black racetrack. The night brings new worries to CrowdStrike. Headlights put extra load on the car's electrical system. CrowdStrike's sister car, the 62, has been suffering electrical problems since the start, and both cars have identical power systems.
Both cars are set up the same way, and when one car has a problem, you know, you got to think to yourself that your car may have that same exact problem. That's exactly what happened. Our sister car, the 62 car, actually had an electrical issue very early on. They were down probably about an hour in the pits just trying to sort that out. We were pretty nervous because we had the exact same setup that we would have that issue. And you know, when you get into the nighttime, that's really where you put the most load on the electrical system, and that's where you'd see any issues if they were able to pop up. So Gerhard took over the car, and he experienced a couple of different problems. One, the voltage was running a little bit low, and he had some shifting issues.
Gerhard, is there any way you could drive this car with the nose headlights off and just the bar above your head? Do you think you might be able to do that? Give it a try.
We're having some trouble with the charging issue on the car, so under yellow, we've got the lights off, we've got, you know, as many of the systems off as we can shut off to manage the power.
We told them if it gets to 10.5 to hit, because otherwise it'll die.
We've been fighting charging issues all night. You know, the car just basically consumes too much electricity. There's a bit of a jump going right after turn 4, and if you hit it just at the right angle and fast enough, the engine oil pressure starts to surge and the engine actually shuts down. And that's what he was experiencing. So the car was actually shutting down, and he had to get towed back in. That certainly took some time to get it into the pits.
It's not guaranteed, but what we think happened is the alternator charged too much, went in through the system, back-fed through the stator, fried the stator, and then cooked itself. So then now we have no charging. The ECU starts freaking out when it gets about 10.5 volts. Then that's when the car won't shift. Everything goes haywire. As soon as we're done with one problem, we got another thing to do, and it's taking a toll. But
The 25 hours of Thunder Hill races through the night. Since the race started at 11 a.m, Davidson Racing's Eagle has been plagued with problems.
It wouldn't run, it was misfiring, we were having trouble starting it. The electrical systems, the PDMs weren't talking to each other. There was error codes coming up for all kinds of stuff. So it was like red flags everywhere.
Just have that wiring glitch that we had earlier, and just keeps biting us in the butt. We pulled the bodywork off, changed the PDM, checked our wiring just to see if we could see what, you know, if we could see what was going on. Found out we have some more faults in the wiring, and so it's just really getting off. Sometimes, you know, you eat the bear, and sometimes the bear eats you, and hey, we got eaten.
Ron Carroll makes the tough call to withdraw the car from the race.
We were fighting a losing battle. It just wasn't going to happen.
Now the team's hopes are pinned on the Norma, a car that's never finished the 25. JFC Racing is also back in the paddock. The car's electronic shifting system is malfunctioning.
Slowly started losing gears to the point where I was stuck in first.
The shifting system uses an electric actuator to change gears.
The actuator wasn't doing a full stroke. It would push the actuator and push the gear, let's say going from 6th to 5th, but it would only get halfway, which would kind of put it in a neutral. So we were getting into a point where it was like locked in gear. Start looking at all the information. You can look at everything from what the blip's doing, is the cut there, what's the temperature. So we started, you know, doing diagnostics on really what we had available to us. And it was all heat related. You know, the actuator sits on the transmission, just behind the header. You know, all the airflow and all the heat and everything coming off the radiators and oil coolers and everything else are all flowing through there. You got the header right there. And that actuator, you know, is there. We've got it shielded and stuff, but in any electrical system, and temperature causes resistance, and it slows the system down.
The team tries several times to get the car back into the race, but ultimately they decide to withdraw.
When you've got a conclusion, there's no reason to put a driver in that situation. Okay, it's bad, you know, or there's something wrong, but you're going to have to deal with it. You got to get to that conclusion where safety and just the respect for the rest of the drivers on the track is just to take it out and not put that risk factor in there. You take your highs and your lows, and you work with it and come back another day, and you know, we'll prepare for next year. Kind of disappointing. Thought it would be a little bit better than that, but I still, you know, this sport's pretty tough, you know, and you've got to take those experiences and then just come back the next day.
SP Racing's number 36 is second in class when co-driver Hernan Palermo reports a suspension failure.
Down on the hub, down on the hub. No brakes, lost front hub, same that happened earlier. I started to feel a little vibration, and I called it in, told them I was going to come in to get it checked out. And then around the last set of turns, I thought I got a flat tire because it really started vibrating. And then the wheel came off, the hub split.
When the 36 broke, it's pretty disappointing. We had all of our hopes back into that car because it was running second at the time. It didn't take long to fix once we got it back, but with any cleanup on the track, it takes a while to safely get one of the cars off the track and back to the paddock to where we can work on it.
When the 36 car was stranded on the track, NASA officials declared a full course caution, which requires the cars to lap single file at a reduced speed until the circuit is clear. Cautions like this have been common throughout the night, and they're exacerbating CrowdStrike's electrical problems.
The yellow flags were actually hurting us in terms of charging the car. The way our alternators were working, we had one that was charging the car when it was really at high speed, and we had another one that was charging it when it was going slow, and they were fighting each other. So it just wasn't going fast enough to keep up with it.
Have the headlights off under yellow.
All of these challenges just add more wear and tear, not only to the electronics, but the engine itself, and you know, and you get some fatigue points, and you know, one of them is the clutch.
So they found an oil leak. Took the underwing off, they found an oil leak.
A serious oil leak has developed around the clutch, and the team can't repair the leak while the engine is in the car.
Change the engine?
It wouldn't be a 25-hour race without us changing the engine, so I think we're getting pretty good at it. Probably took about 40 minutes after we made the call that the clutch had a problem. You know, once they got that engine back in, then I jumped in the car for my next stint.
Just a few hours remain until sunrise. If the racers want to finish the 25, they'll have to find a way to survive the rest of the night. Dawn breaks over America's longest, toughest endurance race. Of the 63 cars that entered, only 38 continue to circulate. SP Racing has waged a night-long battle against failing suspension parts in both their Miatas.
Had a broken wheel stud, had a broken hub. For some reason, the hubs that we have, they're cracking around the radius of them. So we replaced probably about 4 of those now. And then just miscellaneous studs, lugs, yeah. We've had 2 cars now, actually both cars now, to where the hub has come completely apart. Busted off the brake lines, the calipers, rotor, lost a wheel.
All together, we went through 6 hubs. We had to borrow hubs, steal them off of somebody else's cars. The hubs that failed were actually not Mazda OEM parts. They were aftermarket parts that we've been using on our cars for a while. So I believe we're just going to stick with the Mazda OEMs from now on. You never try and call it quits and just give up. You got to just keep fixing it no matter what it is. So you go out there and take the checker under power.
CrowdStrike is also focused on getting to the finish.
Honestly, I don't know what our position is. I'm a little tired. At this point, I'm just glad we're both on the track. We still have charging issues, but we have managed to sort them out. We were just milking it until the sun came up, and now that we had to turn off all our lights and everything, we don't really have a charge. Our charging system can maintain.
Nice lap. Keep it up.
You know, from my perspective, it was really about finishing the race. You know, you've got to finish the race when you come here. It doesn't really matter necessarily what you come in, but you at least have to finish.
Meanwhile, the Davidson Racing Norma soldiers on in the overall lead.
So far, so good. We've got a little bit of a gearbox issue. We've been kind of limping that along since about 6 hours into the race. Third gear isn't really playing nice, so we're just kind of hanging out in fourth, fifth, and sixth, and we're still short shifting it. We're still manually blipping it, but it's hanging in there for us.
Davidson's chief competition is the Award Motorsports Porsche, a car that has won the race 4 of the last 5 years.
The Porsche is just, you know, it's a scary car. The guys know what they're doing with that car, and it just does laps.
It's a little bit of a cockroach back there, but I don't think he can catch us. We're turning laps faster than his fastest lap of the race.
I was very nervous. In my mind, I'm thinking about everything that can happen. I've been through it so many times and had that radio call that, you know, everything's going good, you're leading, and the radio call, oh, loss of power, you know, noise. These engines are pretty high strung, and I was worried about it making 25 hours.
With just an hour and a half left, Ron's worst fear comes true.
The car is even way down on power. Try to do everything you can to take care of it. Short shift, run higher gears, ease up some on the lap time. We could easily lose 3 or 4 or 5 seconds here.
You hear it? Don't sound good.
Well, can we start half
You blow a motor, you're out of the race. I was convinced that that motor was going to go boom in a big cloud of smoke within a lap. He came by the next time, and it didn't sound as bad. I was like, okay, that's interesting. But Buddy, our engineer, had told him to back out of it a little. It sounded okay the next time. So we just basically had him coast around.
Davidson has a 23-lap lead on the Award Motorsports Porsche. If they can keep the Norma on track for another 40 minutes, the Porsche won't have enough time to make up the deficit.
Keep nursing it. We got to make 40 minutes to be fair. They can't beat us after 40 minutes.
Amazingly, driver Brian Frizzell keeps the car running.
We were able to make it all the way to that magic 11:30 time, and he's a pro. He did it for us.
Great job, Brian. Great job. We're in the 30-minute mark, bud. That should be your win.
With victory secure, team owner Bob Davidson climbs in to take the car to the finish.
Checkers are out for Davidson Racing, first ESR to ever win the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill.
I've wanted to either win a class or the overall for every year I've done this race. Never ever won a class, never done the overall, and this is the brass ring we're going after, and we've got it.
CrowdStrike One Motorsports will finish third in ESR and 15th overall.
Mixed emotions when the checkered flag came out. We thought we had a car and a team that we could win, and to not be able to, you know, come out of this race with a win is frustrating. We were able to finish the race, which is an accomplishment in itself. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was thrown at us. I think never giving up and really pushing to the end is probably, you know, one of the brightest spots in the entire race for us. We want to come back strong and learn from this year, take those lessons learned and come back with a more competitive car, and yeah, we're going to get the win one year.
SP Racing pushes through to finish 7th and 8th in E3.
The cars we put together, they had a potential to be on the podium, but it just had some odd failures on some brand new parts.
So if you could turn back the clock a month, what would you do differently?
2 things, or 3 things really. Buy different wheel studs, buy Mazda hubs, and put a Mazda transmission in it that's not rebuilt. This year was a challenge, that's for sure, but we'll learn from it, we'll rebuild, and we'll come back and see if we can do it again.
For people that don't know this race, they don't know how hard it is to get here, to win this race, to win the overall, how much work it takes, and how much luck it takes. You can do all the work in the world, like I've said before, and one little thing not having the luck take you out of the race. We had the luck.